This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
Real Talkers, this might be one of the most important episodes of the show that you ever catch. And this is not hyperbole, and this is not me trying to trick you into something. This is me promising you value in this conversation with Julie Matthews coming up in just a quick second. She's a consumer protection expert. What she is, she's like a fraud buster. She's somebody that has been protecting folks, and as a matter of fact, through her broadcast career, has been sticking up for folks and advocating for folks that have been scammed. She's the one that best understands, as far as we can tell across the country, what scams are happening right now, how they're happening, who's being targeted, and how you can protect yourself. It's Fraud Prevention Month, and so we thought we'd bring Julie back on. The last time she was here, it feels like months ago, there was such an overwhelming response from Real Talkers. Again, honing in on the value of that presentation. We said we got to do this again. Plus, Producer John Hicks, to be quite honest with you, we needed a 12 to 15-minute break from talking about Donald Trump and tariffs.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the pause.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, after Julie leaves us this morning and the show continues, we will go back to talking about Donald Trump and tariffs. And we're going to get into some of the stories that people need to know, because you know Real Talk's got its finger on the pulse. And the Real Talk audience has to be best prepared to talk to your friends, neighbors, and colleagues about what's happening in the world around you. So we will be updating you on some of these stories. We will be getting into our live chat powered by Park Power. But we're talking frauds and scams out of the gates. Isn't it sort of a commentary on the state of the world when we're looking to frauds and scams to take our mind off some of the more troubling things happening around us? I don't mean to make light of it. If somebody you know, if your grandma, or if your daughter or if your uncle just lost $30,000 to some catfish scam, or somebody that you know has surrendered their life savings without even realizing it, there's no laughing matter. So we're going to get to Julie in a quick second. But before we do, I want to let you know what's happening at businesscareercollege.com. You know that they've been leaders in online financial training since 1997, and they've just rolled out a new designation for senior financial advisors for finance professionals. If you're advising folks on where to place their retirement income, or you're going to be talking to people about the smartest moves to make financially, and they happen to be Gen Z, they happen to be millennials, guess what? 3/4 of them polled, about 75%, say that they're interested, they're intrigued by decentralized finance. So things like the blockchain, Bitcoin, NFTs. Now, whether or not you think that's a good idea, you want to be able to advise them with authority. You want to understand what you're talking about, know what the deal is. And that's why Business Career College has rolled out its Certified Designated Asset Advisor designation. That's the CDAA. You can read more about it at businesscareercollege.com. They're going to help you understand the why behind Bitcoin, understand why it's seen as an innovative solution, the network essentials. You'll learn about Ethereum. You'll learn about custody decisions. Some of you might be going, I don't even know what he's talking about right now. That's why you need to get your CDAA designation. Your clients expect it, and you're future-proofing your own career. You can sign up today on the website. Make sure you use the promo code Ryan20. When you do, that'll knock 20% off your investment in that CDAA designation, Ryan20, when you get started today at businesscareercollege.com. I love this from Bunny Slippers. Julie Matthews, I apologize. I can't help myself from getting a little political off the top. I hope it doesn't make you uncomfortable. I know you can talk politics, but Bunny Slippers here says the CEO of Jack Daniels, you know, the famous Kentucky bourbon, says that has come out to Canada saying that Canadians pulling their liquor off the shelves is worse than the tariffs. Bunny Slippers says it's working. They pissed us off and we're responding. There you have it. It is a supercharged atmosphere out there right now. How are you holding a steadiness right now in the midst of all this turmoil?
I'm doing all right. I'm sure like everyone else, right? I'm focusing on frauds and scams like I usually do. Yeah. And, those never stop. So
I got to kind of catch myself earlier, because once you start wisecracking about this, someone's going to write in and say, my whole family, my family's nest egg got wiped out, and there's nothing funny about it. But for you, the fraud and scam beat. You've been on this for a while as a consumer protection advocate. A lot of people will recognize you from your many, many years on television. Now you're working as an independent. We'll talk more about that today. But do you find some sort of, you got to find like some kind of peace in it, like you're doing some good when you're protecting people, looking out for people. You've helped countless people dodge bullets through the past couple of decades.
Yeah, I really love that conversation, kind of like you do, I'm sure, when you have guests in and you just enjoy that conversation. I love sitting with someone at their kitchen table and hearing their stories, because a lot of scam victims out there, they feel like they don't have anyone to turn to. A lot of times they're too embarrassed to even tell their family and friends. And I love seeing that relief on their face when they finally open up and tell someone what happened to them. And then I try and turn that around and turn it into education and tips to try and keep someone else from being victimized.
It's a big thing when somebody comes forward and divulges to a loved one or somebody that they trust that they have been scammed or that they believe they may be. For a lot of people, through no fault of their own, this happens, but it can be embarrassing.
Very much so. And I actually hear from so many children and grandchildren who come up to me and say, how do we get through to a family member who we think is being scammed right now and is sending their hard-earned money to a scammer, and we can't make them listen? And so I find that education is so important on that front as well. How do we get through to family members so that they recognize that they're caught in a scam right now?
You know what I like is, you've made it simple. How do I get through to my family member? A lot of people share this episode. For a lot of people, this is just, someone's going to send them the link and say, you may find some value in this. What's changed since the last time you and I spoke? I mean, this is, I would imagine, kind of a dynamic space. It's always evolving. These scam artists are always finding new ways to dupe people. And when you have been duped, it's not because you're stupid. Like, a lot of times, these things are flying on the radar. It might be a tiny little thing in an email address or a tiny little clue that could act as a red flag. Most people might not even notice it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think technology for all of us is advancing so quickly, and the scammers are using that to their advantage. Artificial intelligence, AI technology, I would say, is one of the biggest things that is, I think AI technology is supercharging scams because they can use it in so many ways. Like, I know an Alberta business where an employee received a phone call from his boss telling him to send some money. He's in the process of doing that. His boss calls and he says, oh yeah, I'll get to that, but I just got to send this money for you first. The boss says, what are you talking about?
Oh, wow.
Someone actually, for some reason, imitated and used AI voice cloning technology to imitate the boss, call the employees, and try and get money sent.
Wow. Johnny and I are talking about this all the time. You'll see videos of like Connor McDavid or these like AI deep fake videos. And I was saying to you, I'm getting more and more concerned. Like, it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference between them, like what's real and what's not.
Yeah, they're getting very good, very well. Like, to the person who doesn't watch those videos, doesn't watch those interviews with Connor all the time, or even like celebrities. I was watching another one. It was just Snoop Dogg talking about his investments, and then little snippets of him in real time that are obviously him, and then going to video that is semi-ad based with his AI voice behind it. It's hard to discern from it, right?
Wow, yeah. Did you see the Connor McDavid fake video? I didn't pull it here, but it was after the Four Nations face-off. It's like pretty crude. It's actually hilarious, but it's obviously like I'm watching it, and the sync between the words and the mouth, and it looked phenomenal. Obviously not real. He's dropping F-bombs and telling the Americans to pound sand, and it's stuff that like Steady Eddie Connor McDavid would never say, but it kind of freaked me out. I'm going, how much longer? I'm going 6 months, 1 year, 5 years from now, none of us are going to be able to tell what's real and what's not.
No, and that's why I think AI technology is so dangerous in that way in terms of what it's doing with scams. I mean, I saw an AI commercial where Taylor Swift is supposedly selling Tupperware and Selena Gomez is selling cookware. Tom Hanks is selling a dental plan. Some of them, as you say, are better than others. The lips don't always match, but they are getting better all the time. Yeah. I've seen some AI videos even where they show what the app can do, and people can now eat and live on a Zoom call, and it doesn't change the face. It looks like if you're trying to be Elon Musk, there's Elon Musk eating his noodles while he's on the Zoom call. It's crazy.
So what do you say for like yourself as a consumer protection advocate? How can somebody protect them? It seems to me that's an area where it's like you got to sort of try to remain as street smart as you can, but you can't do too much, can you?
No, I think it'll be interesting to see if we start to develop some tools to help us recognize AI technology and when it's being used a little bit more. But for right now, I think we need to be very suspicious of anything like that and just be aware that that's out there imitating our voices and imitating celebrities, imitating family members. With the grandparent scam, they're using it as well. They'll find a snippet of an audio on like Facebook or something, and then they'll call a grandparent and actually sound like the grandchild now in trouble.
Oh my gosh. So is this, I mean, I guess when you're reflecting that, or when you're sort of like taking this knowledge and moving forward, do we need to be posting less? I mean, gosh, I'm of two minds on this, because you might go, well, then just don't post any videos of yourself on social. But it's like, number one, for people like us, that's not going to happen. We're putting stuff out there. We're putting fodder out there every single day to get burned, I guess, basically. But do you advise, I mean, have you locked down your own social media channels?
Well, as you said, you and I, what we do for a living makes it impossible for us to do that. And so, I take the mindset it's more important that I'm out there sharing tips about fraud and scams, knowing that scammers might right now be using my photo in some sort of AI scam. But I do think that we need to do simple things like not befriending absolutely everyone. Check your privacy settings on all platforms that you're on.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're using two-factor authentication on websites and social media.
Although that's such a pain in the ass.
I know. Change
Such
your
a pain in the
passwords. I
ass.
hate that too, but it is true.
Yeah, it is true. When you walked in here, we're hanging out before the show. You said, I guarantee, Julie's talking about the live chat. Everybody knows it's the most engaged live chat in the country. And you said, I guarantee people are going to write in with their own personal stories. In White Room, here we are. Says a friend of theirs was scammed. Somebody got a clip of her voice and then utilized AI to make a message to her grandmother asking for 10 grand because she had gotten into an accident and she was in jail. It's happening to people everywhere, right? Heidi's in here as well. Shout out to Heidi. Says, all the scams make me not trust anybody, and it really sucks going through life more skeptical of everybody's intentions. I guess that's just kind of the wake-up call we get, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did a talk in Red Deer yesterday for seniors, and they come up to me afterwards and say, I don't want my cell phone anymore. I don't answer the phone. I'm scared to be on social media. And I try and tell them, don't be scared. Information is power, as cheesy as that sounds. And if we at least educate ourselves on being suspicious and knowing what the scammers are up to, then I think we can still be online and use these things properly. We just need to be really aware.
Johnny was just showing us the photo of a country music star, Luke Bryan. What's this? I don't know this one. Was this like a famous one? Was this a famous story?
Well, it's really going, I don't know why Luke Bryan specifically, but I'm seeing this on Facebook in Alberta a lot right now. A lot of AI video scams where you'll find one where the scammers have created a fake video and they're talking to you. So, hi Ryan, this is Luke Bryan. Don't believe your family when they say that I'm fake. It's really me. And so they're personalizing these AI videos, and a lot of times that's going into an investment scam or, sadly, of course, romance scams as well.
With the romance scams, these ones are like the worst because, I mean, I guess who cares? They're all the worst. But like the romance ones are like somebody gets taken for 6 figures and their heart's broken. These ones are the worst. These are the catfishing scams. Is that what we kind of call them?
Yeah, and these ones are really near and dear to my heart because I've talked to so many victims of romance scams, and I think this is the one scam people laugh at and think, how can anyone be so stupid? And it just makes my blood boil, Ryan, when I hear that, because it's that victim shaming, especially with victims of romance scams, that makes people not come forward. I know of someone who told their family that they had a gambling addiction because it was less embarrassing than telling them that they'd fallen for a romance scam.
Yeah.
I know of a senior in Alberta that thought she was sending $500 a month to Kevin Costner. And she had no family or friends. She was very lonely, very vulnerable. And fake Kevin Costner talked to her for hours every day for months. And it wasn't until she was about to be evicted, could barely afford groceries, that she went to a community agency for help, and they realized what was happening.
This is like, you just think of like the person that can do this to another person. I think you put it well, talking about your blood boiling and just like sort of the visceral reaction to not just manipulating people in this way, but ultimately burying them financially, knowing what you're about to do to this financially or otherwise vulnerable person. How frequently or how often are these types of perps brought to justice? Like, this is oftentimes, I'm imagining it's an international scam, maybe not exclusively, but oftentimes. I mean, does Interpol do anything? The RCMP do anything? Have you seen it through your career?
Yes, so we hear, and even if you watch the news, you'll see arrests happening. So, for example, there was, 3 25-year-old men this fall in Calgary that were arrested for running a bank investigator scam on seniors and Medicine Hat. So arrests and things are happening. But Edmonton Police were part of our Fraud Prevention Month launch on Monday, and one of their detectives worded it well. He said, "We cannot arrest our way out of this problem." The scams and frauds are everywhere. They're global. They're coming at us from all angles. Organized crime is involved in many cases. Think about how many fake emails or texts just you got today or this week or me. Now multiply that by everyone. Police are doing the best they can. RCMP do work through the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre to try and coordinate those efforts with law enforcement in other countries. So there is work being done, but that's why education and talks like what we're doing here this morning are just so important.
What's this Telus scam? I keep hearing people talking about it specifically. Is it not just Telus customers, but it's obviously people purporting to be from Telus?
Yes, so people are receiving a phone call saying the person is very, very convincing. The scripts are good on this one. They're basically using flattery. "Oh, you're such a great customer. We're from Telus. We want to give you a loyalty discount." They often have a little bit of your information, then they want you to verify some more. And what they're doing is they're actually getting access to your Telus account, or now they're pretending to be Bell, Rogers, utility companies. You buy into the flattery and the discounts or free phone that they're offering, and suddenly they've got access to your account. People are having, 10 iPhones bought on their account and sent to all their scammer buddies. In some cases, you're losing control of your actual phone number, and now you can't get it back. Telus is now trying to figure out what the scammers actually did to your account. It's a really big problem, and everywhere I go, people are nodding their heads in the audience going, "Yep, I got that one this week." So it's really happening right now in real time.
Oh my gosh. Kathy is in our live chat powered by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider. She says Julie did an amazing feature on the tow truck operators that are just rolling up and like hooking up to people's cars right after an accident and holding them basically hostage for large sums of money. I saw there was a blip on the headlines. Didn't something just happen legislation wise, or Alberta's taking action, or somewhere in Canada? They're I'll do the Googling while you're talking, but there's legislation coming into place now because this has been happening. This is a pretty regular thing now, isn't it?
Yeah. So Ontario brought in legislation not long ago to try and stop what's happening in Alberta right now. And so there's a lot of people in the insurance industry and the towing industry in Alberta that want to see the same thing happen here. So we're talking about predatory tow trucks where you get into a collision, especially in places like Edmonton and Calgary, and you're standing there waiting for, let's say, AMA or a trusted tow truck, and 1, 2, or even 3 tow trucks will just happen to come up and say, "Hey, Ryan, we'll tow your vehicle." But then the problem is they want to tow it to their impound lot, extra charges, extra problems, and they try and make it feel like you have to let them take your vehicle. And so AMA, insurance individuals, and even myself, as through my investigation, trying to empower people to say, you have the right to say no. Do not let just any tow truck hook up to your vehicle. And even they're causing problems for first responders at collision sites because you've got 3 random unsolicited tow trucks that are basically fighting over who's going to take your vehicle.
Yeah, it's like when you roll into an international airport and you got all the drivers, the taxi drivers
Yes.
ready to go. Everyone's opportunistic. Hey, they got to make a buck. But at the same time, you find yourself, it was Calgary, by the way. So Calgary's introduced some bylaw amendments within the last little while. And these so-called predatory tow trucks can face up to a $10,000 fine if they don't stay 200 meters back. So there you go. I guess that's one step. Ontario taking the lead on that. Kathy, thanks for putting that on our radar. I noticed, and people can follow you on social media as well. You're on X, you're on Instagram, but you were down in Red Deer. Started my career in Red Deer. I love Red Deer. What a great city, great people. You're speaking to a bunch of seniors less than 24 hours ago. Thanks for coming up here to talk to us. But you're not talking to just seniors, and it's not just seniors getting scammed. You're talking to like junior high school students this month.
It's scary, Ryan. Talking to teenagers has to be the hardest audience, I think. I have 2 teenage boys, and I show them my presentation because they're the best critics out there about whether you can keep the teenagers engaged. I mean, teenagers are online more than the rest of us, and there's Snapchat, TikTok, those platforms are absolutely full of scams, and they are targeting young people. And I don't think enough families are talking to their children about scams.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I think just with whatever. Here, I always sound like 95 years old anytime I say stuff like this. But I just think of like young people. I think of how I was when I was young. It's just not on your radar. Like that's kind of just the part of the beauty of youth is like you're not considering worst case scenario all the time, but like 1 or 2 clicks here or there. It may not be a phone scam or it may not be a credit card scam. But where are the biggest vulnerabilities? I know like a lot of kids, like gamers, for example, might have mom and dad's credit card hooked up to where they can purchase things for Minecraft or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think the biggest scam that really is scary when it comes to young people is the sextortion scam. So this is when they think they're communicating with another young person online, and they probably send a picture or 2 that they shouldn't. And then they suddenly realize they're talking to an adult scammer who is now blackmailing them and saying, I'm going to send this picture to everyone on your Snapchat feed. I'm going to send it to your friends, your school, your parents. And they're trying to get money. And there actually have been children who've committed suicide over this particular scam. And again, we're going to go back to the AI technology. They're actually taking that child's photo and superimposing it on a pornographic photo that they just found online. And with the way Photoshop and all the technology is, they can make that photo look real. I talked to a mom whose teenage daughter was impacted by this, and they reached out to everyone in her circle and said, when you get this picture, it's not really me. The scammers just took my face and put it on a naked body and are now sending it to all of my friends.
Jeez. And this can be obviously a tough one for kids that are going to go talk to their parents about this. You know what I mean? I just think it's such this is why I'm so grateful you come on here, and we want to be able to, like, we talk a lot about, usually in the context of Friesen Brothers, but we talk a lot about the conversations that happen around family dinner tables, and like maybe sometimes they feel a little bit awkward, they feel a little bit uncomfortable, but like, I just think, that's the real value of something like this when it's like, fraud prevention month. And most people kind of might go, it's not, I'm not going to get scammed. I'm not going to be defrauded. I'm pretty street smart. But, you think about the people around you and the people that you care about. And it's a good reminder. It's a good prompt to have those conversations, for a parent to say, like, listen, if anything were to ever happen, a lot of times we talk about it with, if there's drinking at a party, don't get in a car, call me. I won't be mad. I'll come get you. But there's like a fraud equivalent to that too, isn't there?
There really is, because, celebrity scams online. I mean, how many teenagers wouldn't love it if Drake or Sabrina Carpenter or Taylor Swift started messaging with them? Celebrity scams, contests, teens, there are specific scams targeting them. So we do need to have more of a conversation. We think about our seniors and we're talking to our grandparents about staying safe, but why aren't we talking to our siblings, our grandchildren, and teenagers and young people in our lives?
100%. I want to get to more of the comments here in the live chat, because I know a lot of people are like M8 can here says, I had somebody call pretending to be my grandson. She says, I said, that's actually kind of funny and strange because my grandson's just 3 months old. She says they quickly hung up. So this is good. And then Lauren has a very fair question as well, John. He's just wondering, do we know if this is actually even Ryan and Johnny?
Oh, like we're AI?
Yeah. How do you know?
You know what you need? A safe word or a password that only you guys know. So if the scammers call you, then that's how you verify that it's you.
How many families do you think actually have the password, actually have the safe? We have one.
Have you? Yeah.
I almost said it. I'm not going to say it. But
I'm really glad to hear that. More and more families are doing this so that when like a senior or a child or anyone gets a phone call from someone pretending to be a family member, you ask for that safe word, you ask for that password. And of course, the scammers don't know it.
Yeah, no, that's such a great tip. Kathy says she's had scammers email her pretending to be somebody in her service club, wanting her to go buy a bunch of gift cards for them. I mean, there's like a million different angles of approach on this, right? When we were promoting your appearance on our most recent episode, I was the one that came to mind for me is like, you always hear these stories, and oftentimes it's like a grocery store clerk that saves the little old lady or the little old man from buying like $3,000 of Best Buy gift cards to pay off a CRA debt. Can we all agree that anytime anybody that you don't 100% bulletproof know is asking you to buy a bunch of gift cards, that's one of the biggest red flags out there?
It definitely is. I mean, when does anyone legitimately go out and buy $2,000 worth of gift cards?
Right.
I mean, no one does this even legitimately. So why would you ever pay a debt that way?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. It's such a great point. Real Talkers, if you're watching or listening live across the 7 streaming platforms that's presented by California Closets, I want to invite you to chime in on this. We've got Julie Matthews in the house here. She can take your questions. We'd love to hear your anecdotes. You never know. You might share something with us that may benefit or enrich the understanding of this entire community, which we sure appreciate. In the meantime, if you're, directing an organization, you're principal of a school, you speak to anybody, right? Community groups.
I do.
Yeah, you travel basically Western Canada, don't you?
Yeah, apparently I'm going to Nipawin, Saskatchewan now in a few months.
Have you ever been to Nipawin?
I have not.
Oh, it's a great little community.
Great.
Yeah, Nipawin, Saskatchewan. You can check out juliematthews.ca if you want to make contact with her. You can also find Julie on Instagram and X. More with this incredible fraud prevention educator coming up in just a quick second. But I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things first. Number one, turmoil in the world. These events beyond our borders, really, that are putting Canada's economy in jeopardy. We got to be making the right choices here at home. That goes without saying. And that means investing in world-class research and learning that'll fuel our home province, the prosperity in Alberta. We can't afford to underfund academic staff at the University of Alberta because we cannot afford, period, the researchers, the students that we need to power Alberta's future. That's why we're asking you to go check out supportthespark.ca and make your voice heard. Help keep our future strong. This is a message from the Association of Academic Staff of the University of Alberta. Have you checked your utilities bill lately, friends? I was talking to a friend yesterday. I don't know about you, but for a lot of people through that record-setting cold snap, especially electricity bills, but like a lot of folks are saying their bill is like 3, 4, 5 times higher than usual. We just checked in with our friends at Park Power. I was talking to their leadership just yesterday, and they've rolled something out super cool. This today is the first time that we're announcing this. If you go to parkpower.ca/realtalk, you can check this out. A special low promotional rate for new customers. So if you're looking at your utility bill right now, you're not a Park Power customer, and you're going, I got to do something about this. Their new promo rate for new customers is 40% lower than the rate of last resort. That's what everybody's talking about in Alberta right now. Okay, so you can check out the details online at parkpower.ca. They're a proud sponsor of Real Talk. We're grateful to have them here powering our live chat. When you sign up for electricity only with Park Power using the promo code RealTalk50, they'll knock $50 off your first bill. When you're bundling services, electricity, natural gas, and internet, the promo code RealTalk could save you up to $150. Put the money back in your pocket where it belongs. Check out parkpower.ca/realtalk. So great to hear from our friends at California Closets yesterday. Not only are they amazing partners on this show, but they're active members of the listening audience. And they heard us talking yesterday about the fact that they are proudly Alberta-owned, the fact that they source their materials out of Canada, that everything is manufactured right here in Alberta. That's just one of the reasons why California Closets has built a reputation as the best in the business. Custom closets and storage solutions for the entire home, and it all starts with a free design consultation. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. Sitting down with one of their expert designers, presenting your vision of that second bedroom, the home office, the garage, the laundry room, the boot room, whatever it is, they do it. And they can custom design an installation to fit your space and to work with your budget. Everything guaranteed for life. You can request that free consultation today at californiaclosets.ca. And all this talk about bottom lines, all this talk about dollars and cents, all this talk about the markets and investments, our friends at North Road Investment Council want to remind you they are a steady hand and a studied voice to guide you through wealth and investing. You can learn more about what they do on their website at northroadic.com. They've just released a new video on their YouTube channel, which you can link to off their website, which kind of updates you on world affairs, what's happening right now, and what it means for potentially your investments. And there's something in particular, as we talk to Julie right now, about vulnerabilities, about protecting yourself, North Road Investment Council offers digital risk advisory. One of their team members, this is their entire assignment, working with North Road clients to ensure that you are not vulnerable to digital risk. I mean, that they're going to evaluate your passwords. They're going to take a look at your setup, and they're going to make sure that you're protected. It's just one of the services they offer that sets them apart. You can connect with North Road Investment Council online at northroadic.com. Interesting comment here from Tracy in our live chat as we hang out with Julie Matthews, consumer protection expert. You can check out her work at juliematthews.ca. She says, my daughter has a popular YouTube channel, so like we literally have a password that she has to say if we ask her for it, which is great. So on demand, she's got to say the password. Tracy says, my mom knows that none of the grandchildren would also, she knows that none of the grandkids would approach her asking for money, but she's also in early stage dementia. So, and Ms. Katie makes a great point. There are a lot of people that, quite frankly, are not in a position to necessarily advocate for themselves.
Again, with AI technology, it's a little harder to say no to a scammer when they're calling if they actually sound like your niece Ashley or your grandchild Trevor, right? If it sounds like Trevor and he's crying in jail and needs your help, I just really worry how many more people are going to fall for that.
Yeah, I was blown away. You passed along some numbers ahead of time to help me get up to speed on the magnitude of this. And when you take a look at the total amount the Canadians or even residents in our home city of Edmonton lost in 2024 to scams, it's staggering. You're talking about $640 million across the country, more than $500 million. How much of that would you say was recovered?
Not a lot, sadly. That's the problem with scams, right? That's why education and chatting about it is so important, because once you send that money, it's usually gone.
Yeah. And how about the folks that are, you hear this a lot of times, Facebook Marketplace, maybe not eBay as much, Kijiji, right? The putting down a deposit so you don't lose that purchase that is almost too good to be true.
Oh, please stop giving deposits for things that you haven't seen in person. Like even during the heat wave this past summer in Edmonton, something like 20 people showed up at a house in North Edmonton, all looking for the air conditioner that they had all sent the deposit for. And the poor people who lived there didn't have an air conditioner and had no idea what they were talking about. The scammers will just take deposits for items with fake photos, fake profiles, and then pick a random address to send you to, whether it's an air conditioner, whether it's a puppy, it's a lawnmower, it's a patio set. I mean, they absolutely work every angle.
Sharon says the freaking air duct calls that I get. Is that a common one?
Yes. And on Facebook, air duct cleaning scams everywhere on social media. Yes.
What's the scam? What's the scam element of that?
Yeah, well, basically, they're not trained professionals in a lot of cases. Like if someone's advertising furnace duct cleaning, why are they advertising as, Bill Smith or Will Smith or whatever, an individual's name instead of a company name? They always use the pictures and they steal them from each other. Basically, they just don't know what they're doing. So they come in, they'll pull up in a tiny little car sometimes or an unlogoed truck, pull out some equipment, blow some dust around, and you've just paid $200, but your ducts may not have actually been cleaned.
Right. Alberta Girl says 9 out of 10 phone calls on my phone, my kid's phone, my mom's phone, all seem to be scams. Says we're letting everything go to voicemail. Don't answer any calls because we're concerned they could be capturing our voice for other scams. I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah, and that too. Remember how we used to all like having a little bit of fun with the scammers to waste their time? And I did that too, but now I actually warn against that because with AI voice cloning technology, they could take a little snippet of our voice now and actually use it against us.
Oh my gosh. Dubious isn't wrong in saying if nobody's answering their phones anymore, why are we all still paying for phone plans? I don't answer any call that I don't recognize anymore. I also don't check my voicemail, so maybe we're missing out on some good opportunities on the show, but I can't bring myself to do it anymore. I always do it. Johnny's heard me basically, like 3 times a week because I'm just like, it's like 11:30 in the morning. The number looks to be local. I answer it and I get burned again. I'm like, why am I still picking up my phone?
Yeah, and the spoofing technology they use, they can make any name or number show up on your phone. So we can't trust our call display. So even if it looks like a local number or it looks like they can make Canada Revenue Agency show up on your phone. I mean, I could call you right now and make it look like I'm calling you from your house. I mean, you cannot trust the number and name on your call display anymore.
Oh my gosh. Is there anything that people can do to protect themselves themselves there. Is there like counter software? Is there something? I know, like I remember we had this guy on, I think his name is Jason Tien, if I remember correctly. He's from Princeton University. He's a Canadian. He's like 23 years old, brilliant. And he's come up with this app for for like professors, basically, that detects the use of ChatGPT. It's like a really interesting, I can't remember what it's called, but folks can find it in our podcast archives. Fascinating work that he's doing. Is there an equivalent to that with things like the number manipulators or the call display things?
Not exactly. I mean, technology is always advancing, and so there probably are more and more tools out there. But a really simple thing people can do is if you haven't already talked to your cell phone provider or landline provider, Telus and a lot of other companies offer different services like call control. So a lot of scammers use those robocallers, right, for the initial call to you. And those robocallers can't press a number. So if you have something like call control on your line, when someone calls you, it says, this person subscribes to call control. Press 4 to continue. Well, the robocallers can't do that. And so it does weed out a lot of those scam calls.
A buddy of mine, he's the only one I know that has it. Well, and also I never call people, so that might be maybe more people have it than I realize. But it was exactly that. I called him, and then I had to press a button to get through to him. And it was what a neat thing. And I asked him about it, actually. Per my, how I roll, I did nothing about it moving forward. It's probably written down on a to-do list somewhere. But he goes, he just called his phone provider, had them put it on, and he said it's changed the game.
Yeah, I actually have it on my landline and had no idea I did until someone mentioned. So I think that sometimes you might already have it and not realize, but I've talked to people who were having problems with scam phone calls, and then once they put that on their line, it did make a big difference.
We opened the show talking about that Certified Digital Asset Advisory designation at Business Career College. This is not another plug for them. I'm just setting the context. But there's a lot of people, there's a lot of interest in cryptocurrency right now. In particular, obviously Bitcoin. But Donald Trump's talking about the Federal Crypto Reserve and all these types of things. And there's all the, people call them the shit coins, basically the kind of the B rate and the C rate crypto coins. And a lot of times, people hear the stories. Everybody knows the one person that spent $2,000 on Bitcoin and turned it into 30 million. And, so everybody wants to make sure they don't miss the boat. They don't miss the next one. Are you seeing more and more crypto scams? Are you seeing people, that are making maybe uncharacteristically reckless decisions with their finances?
Yes, I think there always have been those, and I do think it's increasing, and sometimes those people don't always come forward, again, out of that embarrassment factor. I mean, out of the 48 million that Edmontonians lost last year to fraud and scams, something like 1.8 million of that was actually due to a fake AI video of Donald Trump and Elon Musk telling people to invest in things like cryptocurrency. So those types of things are going around. I still hear a lot about cryptocurrency where we're hearing about it through other scams. So the grandparent scams or Canada Revenue Agency scams where people are being told to pay in Bitcoin or some type of cryptocurrency. And again, if you don't know what cryptocurrency is, you should not be paying with it, right? Yeah. And, for seniors and other people out there, the confusion is what gets them sometimes. And so they trust if a fake Canada Revenue Agency agent is yelling at them and telling them they owe money, drive to this Bitcoin ATM and do this. They do it out of fear, but we have to take those steps not to let ourselves be bullied.
I think you've done one of the things, and you and I have known each other for a long time. One of the things that you've done really well through the course of your career is empowering people to step forward, right? Like even when you were doing it on TV as the troubleshooter, now when you're doing it, it's like there's no shame in coming forward. And it doesn't always have to be like in front of news cameras. You don't always have to be like, the big story, everybody knows your name all of a sudden. But like, if the CRA is like, if you're in a situation like this, call to like your local police detachment, like a call to, why don't you actively call the CRA back? Do you know what I'm saying? Like is there sort of like a recommended protocol that you say to people or steps to take?
Well, I do think that everyone should report it. I mean, you should go to police, even if they don't think they can help you, they can point you in the right direction. Or even just
to verify something.
Exactly. If you get a call from someone pretending to be Telus or pretending to be Canada Revenue Agency, just automatically be suspicious. That's an unsolicited call. You did not initiate that contact. Remember, the scammers will pretend to be anyone and anything to get your money and your information. So if you're not comfortable and they're asking you for personal or financial information, you say, hey, you know what? I'm not comfortable with this right now. There's a lot of scams going around. Give me your agent number or file number, etc. I'm going to hang up. I'm going to look up the phone number myself on the back of my Visa card or for Canada Revenue Agency, and I will call back and I will ask for you or I will ask for my file number. Do the verifying yourself. yourself.
JJ watching us live on YouTube. What's up? JJ says the government of Alberta created a digital literacy program last year. Did you have anything to do with that, by the way?
No.
You weren't? Okay. They said it does have some courses that folks can take for free to better understand internet access, including safety online, which is a great resource as well. I'm really grateful to hear that you are talking to junior high and high school kids. We often lament that, like, I don't want to be the guy that's like, we waste our time on algebra. Like, I do think it's, it's to a certain degree important to study some of that stuff, but we really, for decades, have not educated young people on some of the really basic stuff, like credit card debt, compounding interest, filing your taxes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, CALM classes are still in existence, right? Where they learn some budgeting and that sort of thing. But I think it would be really great to put a digital literacy program into CALM classes, or with that budgeting, we put phones in their hands and tablets in their hands, but did we really teach them security and cybersecurity and how to use that and best practices? And, kids think they're invincible. So I do think that more education in schools about some of those pieces would be excellent.
Alberta Girl says these scammers are targeting human weakness. Says I had some celebrities on Facebook reach out. Obviously, I did think for maybe half a second that it was real, but then reality clicked in, says Alberta Girl. A bunch of people, by the way, with connections to Nipawin that are watching us that are chiming in. So there you go. Tara Lynn says, I always had safe passwords when my kids were little. Why don't we have them now? She says, thank you for putting this on my brain, Julie. I'm going to be instigating this with the family today, which is fantastic. You never know. And I mean, that could be a big difference for somebody. Meantime, Vamp Fashion says, I had somebody demand I go get them gift cards. Granted, it was a friend and it was supposedly Christmas. Vamp, I think that's a little bit different. What about this? Someone says they have identity theft insurance on their policy. And then they're going, is that an insurance scam? Identity theft insurance? Have you ever heard of that? I've never heard of that.
Interesting. I mean, I know you can get a lot of alerts and fraud protections put on your accounts if you talk to your bank, your credit card company, or if you contact TransUnion or Equifax, the credit reporting agencies, you can get fraud alerts and warnings put on your accounts so that if anyone tries to take out a loan in your name, a credit card in your name, buy a vehicle in your name, you will get an automatic alert. So if anyone feels like they may have been compromised, they lost their wallet, something like that, that's a really great step to take.
Mariah's with me on this. She says I'm the same way as you. I don't know. I've just totally changed on that, to be honest with you. How about this tech support stuff? Have you heard about tech support scams? I know for a lot of people, you get in a situation. Thankfully I've got this intrepid tech producer here piloting this plane here every single day. But if Johnny's too nice, he would never tell people how inept I actually am technically. But like when something goes sideways, when something starts going wonky, for most people, you're out of your depth, and then all of a sudden, this person swoops in to the rescue. They're going to help you out. They're going to save you. But gosh, you're giving them the keys to the castle.
Yeah, tech support scams. Remember, we used to all get those calls saying there was a virus on our computer. Those aren't as common now, but now it tends to be like pop-up ads that tell you that your computer has a virus or it's frozen and gives you a phone number the scammers want you to call. Or a lot of people run into trouble when they keep Googling for things and then they end up on a fake website. I know someone who Googled for their cell phone provider and actually ended up on a fake website and gave remote access to scammers because they thought they were actually talking to their phone provider. And I mean, that's the key, is remote access to your computer is a very big deal for tech support or anything. Be very cautious that you know who you're talking to and not just giving access to a scammer, because think of all the information you have on your computer.
Oh my gosh. This stuff just stresses me out, to be honest with you, but I'm grateful. And I know that you've heard a million people say that before. And I know that we don't always sort of want to go through our lives looking over our shoulder all the time and paranoid, but just to be empowered with the information is really valuable. What's coming up for the rest of the month for you? Are you're hitting the road? Aside from your trip to Nipawin, is this like do you find, generally speaking, are you impressed or satisfied with the interest of organizations and agencies and community groups around this? Is it on people's radar as much as it needs to be, do you think?
Yeah, I need to give a shout out to FCSS, Family and Community Support Services in Alberta, because I think they're the ones who are reaching out to me the most, saying, hey, we want this for our schools, for seniors groups and people in our areas. but I'm talking to Chamber of Commerce's. I'm in Two Hills talking to junior high and high school students and talking to seniors in Murnham. I'm headed to Mundare. I'm in Kalmar. I'm going to Lloydminster. I'm doing a little road trip to visit Kitscoty and Vermilion at the end of the month. So yeah, I'm all over the place, Ryan. But you know what? I love it. I love going out to these communities and hearing people's stories and seeing the look on their face when they hear that one tip in my talk where they just, that it hits them, right? It's that light bulb going off. Wow, I didn't know that. I'm going to do something about it.
You are literally, you're gonna sweep any cocktail party game that you're playing that asks you got to name like 30 Alberta small towns. You're like in Murnham and Two Hills.
Right.
Shout out to all of them. I know we got Real Talkers there. Tracy, you're bringing Real Talkers together here. Tracy says she worries about the older generations who don't want to ask younger ones for help because too many of the younger ones might roll their eyes every time they're asked for help with anything digital. What about this from Marianne, who makes such a great point watching us on YouTube, says one of the most predatory scams that she knows was the targeting of a friend of hers, a woman in the first few weeks following her husband's death.
Oh, yeah.
Says the claim was that he left debt behind. Marianne says thankfully she was saved by her son-in-law. You can't, I mean, the emotional, the understandable emotional vulnerability of somebody who's gone through trauma or who's experienced a big loss and they're just not, you can't blame them. They've got a million things going on. They're not themselves. They're not thinking straight.
Fraudsters are horrible people, and they go for the vulnerabilities every time. Widows and widowers are huge for them. I really want to caution people when you're using online obituaries. So when someone in your life passes away, you know how we like to list off all our family members survived by brother named Paul, nieces, grandchildren, and we name them all off. People don't realize scammers use those online obituaries. Now they know that they can call the surviving widow that's listed right there or look her up. And now when they call, they know she has a grandchild named Ashley. They know she has a nephew named Trevor because they got it from the obituary. And I just saw this week in the news that now they're using obituaries for an insurance scam, that they're targeting families and they know all the family members. They're targeting widows and widowers now with that, claiming that they're with an insurance policy that widow or widower didn't know that their spouse had. And they're getting so much information from the obituaries that now they're using it to make the scams more convincing.
Absolutely brutal. Tony says her hubby got sucked in with the Microsoft tech support scam. Says he wanted to know where our remote access icon was so the guy could take over our PC. Tony says, that's when I grabbed the phone. So Tony saved the day. Maybe she's familiar with her work from before. Hey, considering all the traveling that you're doing, we appreciate you made it up to the capital city to hang out with us. Thanks for doing it.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's always so good to see you. Encourage people to follow Julie. You can find her at Julie Matthews Troubleshooter on Instagram. What are you on X? You're Julie M. Helps.
Yes.
Julie M. Helps on X. And of course, juliematthews.ca is where you can make direct contact with Julie if you'd like to book her to make a presentation in front of your crew. I mean, it could be, the corporate stuff is big too, right? I mean, all it takes is, we've heard these stories locally as well, wasn't it? I think it was Grant MacEwan University.
Yes.
Wasn't it $10 million or something like that?
A lot of money.
They got taken for. So yeah, just wild stuff. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Julie Matthews, longtime friend and a great friend of the show, and of course, a consumer protection advocate at juliematthews.ca. This conversation is made possible by our friends at the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, who want to remind you about the benefits of membership. Strengthen your business and support your community. An Edmonton Chamber membership will be your business's most valuable investment. You can check them out online at edmontonchamber.com. Learn more about how you can support Canadian businesses. They've got some great resources there, of course. And I love that they've got that photo. Look at this for the benefit of our podcast listeners. Former President Mulroney, Prime Minister, obviously, former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, former President Ronald Reagan there signing that trade deal. Look at that. I love that political reference. But protecting our economy and strengthening Canadian trade is a big part of what the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce is advocating for right now. You can read more on their website, sign up for a membership, and check out the events link as well. If you're living in Alberta and you'd like to hear directly from the finance minister about Alberta's provincial budget, coming up on Monday the 10th, just a few days from now, their provincial budget luncheon presented by CPA Alberta. You can still get your tickets. Another benefit of membership right there at edmontonchamber.com. Johnny, I'm going to be heading over to UCAN Youth Services today to check in with our friends. I'm so proud, all of us are here at Real Talk, to be working with UCAN Youth Services to get the message out about the incredible work they're doing. And this week in particular, it's a special week. I know it's been a tough week for their family as we observe the first anniversary of Kyle Dubé's passing. Kyle was the executive director of UCAN Youth Services, the host of the Relentless podcast. He was actually on Real Talk just a very short time before he passed away. Just an incredible guy. I always described him as the straw that stirs the drink. Just a passionate community advocate that did incredible work creating opportunities for young adults 18 to 25 that were just needed somebody to show some faith in them, just needed somebody to give them an opportunity, whether that was employment, whether that was education, whatever it was. Kyle lived and breathed this work, and the team at UCAN is continuing his legacy every single day. If you're considering making a donation to UCAN Youth Services, this is an amazing week to do it. In memory of Kyle Dubé, and we'll keep you posted on future opportunities to honor Kyle's legacy. I want you to circle these dates on your calendar, though. March 10th to 12th, 17th to the 19th, UCAN Comedy Nights. We're going to have so much fun at the Starlight Casino, the comic strip. I'll be there the night of the 17th, all in support of this amazing agency. You can learn more about getting tickets there at ucancomedy.com. And to those of you that are looking for employment in the spring, maybe this is an opportunity for you to check out an entirely new field. If you've been working as an electrician, as an installer, if you're an engineer, Kubi would love to talk to you. You can find them online at kubi.ca. They are literally always hiring. I mean, it's literally, they're always hiring. Lethbridge, Edmonton, Calgary, Kamloops. They're looking for HR managers, sales managers. Again, engineers have huge opportunities here. And of course, on their website, you can also get a free quote if you're looking to put solar panels up on the roof of your home, business, barn, office tower, whatever it is. This spring, now's a great time to fill out the form, the contact form. Get that free quote rolling at kubi.ca. And at Friesen Brothers, 70 years they're celebrating this year, 2025. Unbelievable. Back in 1955, Frank Loveson opening up that first butcher shop in Hinton, Alberta, and the legacy that family has built since then, nothing short of absolutely remarkable. We're going to be talking to you through the year about the different events that are going on, but you can also check out their website at friesen.com. They've got their experiences listed there, including the butcher shop, the market garden, and their famous Mother Dough bread company. Nobody does sourdough like our friends at Friesen Brothers. Again, you can find them online at friesen.com or in 16 different Alberta communities. Friesen Brothers is Alberta grown and Alberta owned. You feel the pain. I saw a comment here from Goose in our live chat. Goose is going to get a shout out every single time I see his name for showing up and helping us out at the Real Talk Pond Hockey Classic. That guy was in minus 30 degrees, helping people get all set up and get organized. Gosh. And I just respect so much and appreciate his volunteering with the team. But Goose says here, I lost about $4,000 just a short time ago, buddy. I feel that like a punch in the gut, and I'm sorry to hear it. But basically says, it was just sort of one of those situations, you find yourself vulnerable, and then the next thing you know, you're out of it. He says it was just before New Year's Eve. It was $4,000 worth of a meme coin. Says they made it look like an airdrop. That's another thing I don't totally understand, Johnny, these airdrops where you can quickly send files back and forth between people's phones. He says, but it looked like an airdrop from a person I trusted, but I just wasn't paying close enough attention. Mm-hmm. He goes on, he says, I only have myself to blame. I mean, number one, Goose, don't be too hard on yourself, buddy, but geez, what a kick in the teeth. But he goes on to just say it wasn't my life savings, but still, right? Like it would just be, that would be a really tough one to swallow. Elder Taz is watching us live on Facebook this morning. What's up, Taz? Says there's been an increase in tenant scams. That's on the rise, according to police. How are people able to verify ownership? For a lot of people, you go, well, yeah, you just get in touch with the police, contact the tenant, advocacy board or whatever resource there is, regardless, or depending on what city you live in. But I think for a lot of people, like Goose just said, it's stuff that's flying under the radar, right? It's not like this big, obvious scam. It's something like you just kind of didn't see it coming, and then the next thing you know, the money's gone.
Yeah. In regards to airdrops, people are kind of guessing here too. They're not necessarily talking about iPhone to iPhone airdrops or Mac to iPhone. It's what Mac uses to like basically Bluetooth someone something, right, or whatever. Just shoot them something. You can send links over AirDrop with Apple products though. That can direct you directly to a scam. But I think what that person's talking about is actually cryptocurrency can be traded through airdropping.
Oh, I see.
Specifically within the market, which is also can be hacked, can be used in a way that is not, legal. And you can literally tap on something and think you're accepting money, and it's actually drawing money from you. So from your cryptocurrency account, right?
I see.
Yeah. And
I think that there's like when it comes to crypto in particular, and for a lot of people, like now Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin's now off the top of my head. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like over 100,000 Canadian right now. Mm-hmm. It's been up and down like the markets have been over the past while. But for a lot of people, you've got these like Bitcoin wallets or however you're storing it. I'm a bit out of my depth here. I'm not going to get too into it, and I'm certainly not going to give you advice. But I will say, like for a lot of people, you hear of someone that they like lost their key or they like lost their Bitcoin wallet, and the tough reality is I witnessed a conversation. This was 2 summers ago on the golf course with a guy talking to a former sponsor of ours, Bitcoin Well. You guys remember they used to sponsor the show. And this guy was like, this had nothing to do with Bitcoin Well. They didn't do anything. It had nothing to do with them. But this guy was coming up to him and he's like, he talked about the magnitude of the loss, like how much they were missing and they couldn't get it. And I was talking in the tens of thousands of dollars, like a lot, enough to buy a new BMW, put it that way. And the guy was just basically like, so what do I need to do? Or how can I do? And you kind of see the bit of panic in his eyes. Mm-hmm. And the answer was an unfortunate one. Like the answer was, it sounds like that might be gone. And I think for a lot of people, it's like, if you had gold under the floorboard, if you had cash buried under the apple tree, that's not the way it goes. But I just think that in this new era, this new age, and I get nervous, man. Like I consider myself, I don't know if I'm an older young guy or a younger old guy, but I definitely feel a little bit out of it. That's probably evident to you real talkers. I'm pretty like Luddite on tech. I don't know. I always wanted, that's why we bring Juliana. I always want us to be up to speed and recognize it. But I sometimes go, gosh, I can see myself getting burned by some of this stuff. It's like a 2-second lapse of judgment. You click on an email and the next thing you know, you're burned. How about Wab Kinew? Let's talk about this. Let's transition to a little talk on politics. The Premier of Manitoba kind of joining the chorus. Doug Ford's kind of been first on a lot of stuff. I know that it seems like I'm really pumping his tires, but Doug Ford, in his advocacy with the Americans, talking about how he would turn their power off with a smile on his face, which is one of my favorite quotes in politics in recent memory. But the LCBO banning all American booze from all of their stores. They're the single largest customer in the country. That was a big move. Manitoba follows. Alberta's following, by the way. I don't know if it's begrudgingly or otherwise, but, every jurisdiction's doing what it can, kind of operating, based on its own priorities and trying to pull the levers as best they can. Well, Manitoba joining the provinces that are banning American booze from their liquor stores, but it is how they announced it. It is how Premier Wab Kinew did it that made me laugh out loud and say to Johnny, we have to play this on the show. This is the Premier of Manitoba, Wab Kinew, doing his best Donald Trump.
Okay, this order, it's a wonderful order. It's a beautiful order. This order is pulling American booze off the liquor mart shelves.
It's a wonderful order. It's a beautiful order. And then he signs the order and holds it up to the camera. I thought it was great. But isn't it interesting that, I mean, the liquor ban is really getting a lot of attention. It's kind of funny. It's like, there's tariffs on a whole bunch of things, like a ton of stuff, and going both ways now. And then you invoke China and Mexico and other parts. And obviously it's a huge conversation. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to get too into the woods. We talk, you talk about like steel and oil and gas and auto parts and all the stuff. But when you start talking about targeted tariffs or targeted bans like Kentucky bourbon to send a message to political representatives in Kentucky, you start talking about specific things. I think it's really grabbing people's attention on both sides of the border. And there's been some interesting coverage on this. I mean, dozens of Kentucky bourbons that have been listed. It's only bourbon if it's from Kentucky, right? That's kind of how it works. It's like champagne in that region in France. So dozens of them on BC liquor store websites, as an example, ranging from the tiny little, like the airport bottles, those tiny little 2-ounce ones of Maker's Mark, all the way up to the big ones. There's like $2,500 bottles of different special editions of Woodford Reserve and cognac barrels and the like. They've all been made unavailable. And this is a way, a lecturer at the Sauder School of Business, I'm referencing some reporting by Global News, Samuel Roscoe, says this is a way of capitalizing on government control over the alcohol sector. It says that all the provinces that are using their jurisdiction over alcohol sales to damage the pocketbooks of American companies and send a message, quite frankly, because it works. When you ban Kentucky bourbon, it gets the attention of basically that entire Bible Belt down in the United States. Maybe it's the Bourbon Belt. That's a better name for it. But it basically reiterates that Canada feels like the tariffs are unjustified and harmful on both sides of the border. And it's really going to hit those producers big time, right? So governments don't really have the authority in other jurisdictions like that. And not just the authority, governments don't really have the ability to implement a prohibition for many other types of goods purchased, by private businesses. If a restaurant somewhere in Canada or a chain, I think of Earl's back in the day. Remember Earl's faced all that backlash because they said, we'd love to serve Alberta beef, but we can't get the cuts and the number, the amount that we need from our suppliers in Alberta. So then they went stateside and they started sourcing their beef out of the United States. And remember, everybody snapped for a little while. That's one example of many. But the government can't step in that circumstance. There's a lot of things that private businesses do government can't control. Liquor is one of them. Right here in our home province, you got the AGLC, you got the LCBO in Ontario and the like. So this is one of the reasons why these targeted tariffs have been really effective and have happened quickly. I also think just because it's something that gets people talking. If you start, a tariff on steel, the average person's not going to make conversation about that. But you start talking about what bourbon you're putting in your glass to a bourbon drinker, or you start talking to people about the wines that are going to be available and they can't find their favorite California wine anymore, or they're looking to support BC or Ontario wines now. That's more of a talking point. It's more of a social thing, I just think that that's probably why it's working here. But you can let us know what you think about this. JJ says that the Jack Daniel's leadership, and I know we referenced this earlier too. They're upset that it's not not being sold in Canada, let alone the tariffs. Dude, read the room. JJ says, talk to your Orange King about it. Don't get mad at us. And I think that that's a great point. It's like, Canada, I think the Prime Minister said it in the clip that we shared in our most recent episode, in the episode yesterday. It was like, Justin Trudeau says, like, basically, sorry, not sorry, right? We're Canadians. We're upset right now. And, we've been good neighbors. We've been good friends, but we're probably going to keep booing your anthem. And this is the way it's going to be. Meantime, Carolyn Levitt, spokesperson for Donald Trump in front of the cameras yesterday, talking in particular to the auto sector in a bit of a remarkable exchange. And we wanted to share this with you, Real Talkers, just to pick your brain on it. But here she is, speaking on behalf of the President in the United States.
One, on the reprieve that is being granted to these three automakers for 1 month on the tariffs on Canada and Mexico. How did the President settle on 1 month?
The reciprocal tariffs will go into effect on April 2nd, and he feels strongly about that no matter what, no exemption, so that's where the 1 month comes from.
Does he expect them to be able to shift production within a month?
He told them that they should get on it, start investing, start moving, shift production here to the United States of America, where they will pay no tariff. That's the ultimate goal.
So that was Caitlin Collins of CNN asking the questions there. So the president was some pretty bold expectations, wanting these automakers to shift all production to the United States, and it sounds like before April 2nd, if possible.
Yeah, I don't know that that's going to happen. Even Elon Musk is getting a little. He was commenting on some podcast. I forget where the clip was. It wasn't like Rogan or anything, but just commenting about obviously asked about tariffs and thought he was going to bump up what Donald was doing, and actually had a point where he said, this kind of is affecting me too, because, you change even one destination where one part in a Tesla is coming from in another country or Canada or Mexico or wherever, it changes the whole cost structure of the vehicle in the end. And then afterwards, trying to change that back when you've nailed down that new place that you're now receiving the product from, a new deal that you've got in place. It's hard to go back to the United States or Canada or Mexico, whoever, and nail back that part again at the same price and then change your cost structure all over again. And I'm looking at him as he's saying this, and I'm like, dude, you were the one standing behind him nodding when he was talking about tariffs, and it's even affecting you right now. And Tesla, obviously the stock not doing so well. Like how bad does Tesla stock, SpaceX, all these other things have to get before Elon goes back to work and stops hanging out at the White House?
I have not been paying attention to Tesla stock, to be honest with you. So let's take it.
It's just been volatile. It hasn't dived.
Well, we can take a live look right now. So here it is. As we're talking to you at 9:34 Mountain, 11:34 Eastern on Thursday, the 6th of March, and Tesla stock is down 10. What is it? Down 3.5%. Anyway, today. That's over one day. Let's take a look at 5 days, 1 month. Yeah, it's not good. It's
a downtrend.
It's about 270. Well, it's at 200. Put it this way: on the 6th of February, so exactly 1 month ago, Tesla stock, one share was 374 US. It's now 269
down
US.
30% almost.
So that's a pretty significant.
That's very significant.
6 months. It's looking a little rosier over the last 6 months. But still, this is, I think, a good opportunity for us to let our audience know about an interview that we've confirmed for tomorrow. Speaking of Tesla, she figures that Canada should be imposing a 100% tariff on Teslas. Canada's former finance minister and a contender for the leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada, Chrystia Freeland, will be joining us right out of the gates at 8:30 Mountain, 10:30 Eastern tomorrow. That's Friday, the 7th of March. We're going to ask. I think basically everybody's treating this like Mark Carney's coronation. So that'll, probably be one of the things that we'll ask her about first. We'll see how we roll into the interview. But she's, I think, for a long time. There were rumbling. People sort of, if you'd look at that short list of who people figured would succeed Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland's name came up all the time, right? It was like Chrystia Freeland, Anita Anand, Melanie Joly, maybe, François-Philippe Champagne. There were a few, maybe Jonathan Wilkinson, who knows, Sean Fraser, probably. But it's just kind of, I don't know. We'll see what happens. The leadership vote, as you know, Real Talkers, is underway. It's going to wrap up on Sunday, and on Monday, the 10th of March, obviously we'll be talking about it. And so we'll pick her brain on that. But yeah, she figures Canada should impose a 100% tariff on Teslas right now. I can't say I disagree.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you want to hit somebody where it really hurts, and you want to hit, the president of the United States, I'm talking about Elon Musk. What do? Impose a 100% tariff on Teslas and hurt sales of Tesla, right?
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I'm really looking forward to hearing what Freeland says tomorrow on our show. That's going to be great. And I'm also just watching every day. It's a sad time. It's a scary time, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see our premier standing up for Canada 100% lately and basically saying, we're just going to go around this. We're going to circumvent. We're going to get avocados from Mexico instead of California. We're going to get auto parts from Mexico instead of, down in the States or from across international waters. And then yesterday I was just asking you, I think maybe we can ask Chrystia about this, and we can ask other people who come on in the future. I'm wondering, if this goes on a long time, does the States play another card? Say we switch to getting auto parts or fruits and vegetables and all these other things that we get from the States, California, whatever, we get it from Mexico. Could Donald Trump play a card where he says, no, we're not going to let that rail or that ground transport go through? And then we have to go to water or air transport, which is significantly more cost.
Can you imagine flying in avocados from Mexico?
Well, we fly it. We do air and water transport from Mexico, but it's usually for huge orders of large things, right? Most things come on rail or ground, in transport trucks, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if that's another card he would play, because that's even wilder, right? Saying we're not going to let trailer trucks or trains come through with your products.
We've got right now, Will is watching us on YouTube. What's up, Will? Says, I honestly don't think that Elon Musk cares about, talking about tariffing, 100% tariff on Tesla. Says, I honestly don't think he cares about that anymore. His shrugging about the Starlink contract being ripped up just shows that he's gotten what he wants, and we're small fries. And he says, and on the Danielle Smith file, he says, I think Smith saw the writing on the wall and realized being an appeaser was not good politics. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've talked about this at length. I think that, like, you know, I thought that when Danielle Smith went down to Mar-a-Lago to meet with the president, I defend that move. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think you treat it as a different story, though, when she said Alberta's not signing on to that national strategy. Now, listen, real talkers, you know, what do we have between now and then? We've had 30 episodes of the show or something, right? So, like, the game has changed. The conversation has changed. And obviously, politicians have to pivot, too. So, you know, some of you have written in and said, like, she was at the inauguration. That's a fact. That's true. But that doesn't mean that she can't change her tone. The president changes his tone every single day. And for her own political survival and for the good of Alberta's economy, obviously she's got to step in line and figure out the right move, and oftentimes the right move is that solidarity. I don't know if you saw the news conference just a real short time ago. For our podcast listeners, will describe it, but she's made herself available. She's got the Mike Ellis and Mickey Amory, a couple of ministers, standing behind her with the. Those are sort of like those are like the natural disaster jackets. You know those ones. These are the ones the politicians wear when there's like a wild. So they kind of have their business. You know what I mean? Like they got their I'm taking action coats. It's like the Ron DeSantis white rubber boots. They've got.
But they're just wearing it back to the office.
Just,
you know?
but it's the photo op, right? And what is the most? You tell me. What is obviously the most striking element of this photo on the screen?
Yeah, the bomber jacket's in the back.
It's the sheriff with the big. I don't even know I'm not a gun guy, so if I call it an assault rifle, we're going to get emails from people that are like, it's not technically an assault. I don't know, whatever it is. It's big as hell, and I would not want. I don't want to be shot. And he's got like they got like the most barrel-chested, bearded Alberta sheriff. I'm not messing with that sheriff. I don't think anybody's messing with that sheriff. And what is that on his front? I think that's a taser, and he's got a big assault rifle, and he's got his baton on his belt, and he's just ready to rock, standing there behind Alberta's premier. But this is all messaging, man. It's all optics. It's all theater.
We're in battle mode.
Right? Yeah. And so Trump had this call with Trudeau, and he says, you know, there have been improvements, like, you know, to the Canadian border. And this is all bullshit. Like all this talk about Trump and, you know, the fentanyl in Canada, and like, it's like, you know, but he goes, there have been improvements, but there's still work to be done. And so here, you know, Canadian politicians like Danielle Smith are showing that, like, we got guns too. Like we got drones, we got guns. Yeah. We're putting more officers on the border. Let's end this as quickly as possible so everybody can get back to normal trade.
100%. And our premier said that. Like, I like her tone saying, like, again, what I just said is, like, once you change these trade routes, like once we find alternative sources for these things that we're not going to get from the States or wherever, it's really hard to put them back into place, especially when, you know, things are volatile and the president may change it again in the future. Yeah. So like, I like the tone coming from our premier. I also like the tone coming from our prime minister when Donald Trump says, you know, you've improved your border a little. Maybe we'll fudge with the numbers. Maybe we'll bring 25 down to 15. And then our prime minister says, we're not going to change any of ours until it's zero.
I agree. It's all or nothing. And I stand by that. Let's quit fucking around with like 10 or 15 or 20. What are we doing right now? And by we, I mean, what are you doing, Donald Trump? I appreciate some of you are coming to my back on the gun front. St. Cactus Sheriff says, just call it a rifle, Ryan. Sure, but that doesn't sound, I don't know. I'm a city slicker. I'm a civilian. But if you just call it a rifle, it sounds like, you know, the guy on his front porch on his rocking chair trying to hit the coyotes so they don't get his cattle. That's like this is a bigger deal. Some of you are saying, I don't understand why the sheriff's in the photo. You guys, that's a win. That's honestly from, like, we're talking about it on Real Talk, so it worked. And I saw some of you in the chat talking about it as well. Who is it? Laura's watching, and she just says, that is very sexy. Well, I guess Laura's into a man in uniform. So there you go. That's working for Laura. Okay. So another good point, though. The premier made it, and many people are making it, and businesses should be making it, and it's a compelling point, and it's true. You and I were talking about this off camera yesterday, and that is, I mean, Doug Griffiths was in here the other day, Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. Shauna Feth from Alberta Chambers said the exact same thing. Businesses, organizations, agencies, etc., are exploring other revenue streams. They're exploring other export markets. They're exploring other ways of doing business, and we should be doing that, and that's a good thing. But a note to the Americans, once you find these new export markets and once you build these new trade relationships,
sign agreements.
And once you sign agreements and once you start sourcing products and supplies and services from other jurisdictions, The Americans lift the tariffs and then they expect us to rip up all these new agreements. They expect us to forget about all these new opportunities. They expect us to just come back Stockholm Syndrome style. I don't think so.
Alter the total cost of products that have now been restructured into, and we've cut costs in other areas so we can import these products from different places. You want us to switch everything back, go into it's like when we had the tax holiday at Christmas and our prime minister expected us to go into our POS systems and change every number for a bun, a pickle, a burger, a tomato on a bun. It's the same thing with a business. When you alter, just like Elon said, when you change one part of auto manufacturing in a car and you restructure everything around your business to save money and make the cost the same, and then you expect us to go all the way back. I just don't think, and that's why I said it yesterday, I hope this doesn't go anywhere near the summer. I hope this ends in 2 weeks.
I hope so too. Scott says, Jespo, it's a rifle regardless of the inside of the barrel design. I'll take your word for it, guys. It's a rifle. It's just a big-ass rifle.
With the sight on it, the scope is right on it and everything. It's ready to...
This is a bit of maybe a dumb question. I'm a bit of an ignorant question. It's loaded at all times? It's got to be, right?
I would guess if
it's not like a prop. It's actually locked and loaded. Wouldn't that be a wild... Maybe I know we have law enforcement listening. Shout out to you guys. But wouldn't that? I've always thought it would be absolutely wild.
Oh, you mean at this presser specifically? Maybe.
No, I'm not talking about on duty. I'm just saying standing
on duty
standing behind the podium, ready to just let her buck if anything goes sideways. It would just be what a wild profession. And we're grateful for all of you that are out there keeping us safe. Listen, before we wrap. And this is a special shout out to Real Talker Gabriella, who's so hardcore. She's a Patreon supporter. She listens to every show. She wrote in and she said, Jespo, I can't help but notice that your episodes have been getting a little longer lately. And she says, I've got so many things pulling on my schedule and pulling on my time. She says, just some constructive feedback. The longer episodes makes it difficult for me to get to the rest of the stuff I need to do during the day. You know what I responded to her? I said, do you know how incredible it is to get an email from somebody that doesn't just turn off the show?
Yeah, it just keeps going.
But says you're screwing over my schedule because I got to listen to the end every single time. Gabriella,
I go back to work when you guys are done.
Yes. I wrote her and I was like, we're sending her some merch. I was like, that is one of the coolest emails I've ever got in my entire career. But Gabs, this is a shout out to you. We're wrapping at 75 minutes today. But before we do, whether you're a golfer, and I'm talking a serious one or a casual one, I mean, even the most casual golfers have to be looking at the forecast right now, and you have to be starting to dream about maybe that first trip to the range or maybe your first round of golf. Well, let me get this on your radar. If you go to ryanjesperson.com right now, you go to the events link in the Real Talk Golf Classic, you are going to find registration officially open for the 4th annual Real Talk Golf Classic, which is coming up Thursday, June 19th at the Ranch Golf and Country Club, proudly presented by our friends at CWB Wealth in support of the Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship. You can register today by following the link. $1,200 for a foursome. We've kept it affordable. All the proceeds are going to that Real Talk Julie Rohr Scholarship, which right now this year, by the way, friends, this year is providing, just this year alone, $30,000 in support for post-secondary studies for students who've lost a parent to cancer. It's an incredible cause. We're proud to be working to make sure that that happens year after year after year, and we can only do it with your help. So whether you're going to be out there golfing, volunteering, we do have room for some sponsors as well. You can find all the details at ryanjesperson.com. Just follow the events link. Thanks in advance for those of you that sign up early. As mentioned, coming up on Friday's episode, this is going to be the 7th of March. The 7th of March. We're going to welcome right out of the gates, live at 8:30 Mountain, 10:30 Eastern, Chrystia Freeland, just a couple of days before voting wraps for the federal Liberal leadership. And then a very special edition. It's going to be a powerful conversation, I guarantee it, commemorating the 20th anniversary of that tragedy in Mayerthorpe, the 4 fallen officers. We're going to talk to 3 people that were there the day it happened and have lived it ever since. We hope you'll join us.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton. Real Talk's editorial board is Supriya Dwivedi, Ahmed Ali, Brandy Morin, Ann Castleman, Corey Hogan, Harman Candola, Catherine O'Neill, and Chris Henderson. Member Emerita, Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjesperson.com.